My name is Catherine Stowell. My father is the Reverend Hugh Stowell. My father became vicar at Ballaugh Church in 1814.
Ballaugh Old Church has been a focal point in countless people's lives for centuries. The adjacent field is believed to be a Bronze Age burial site. The early church would have been a place of refuge for the community during times of danger, a Viking raid perhaps. Today, it is an iconic ancient church, dearly loved by its community.
The church is such a special place, a place for everyone. Here are some friends to tell you a bit about the church.
Friends of Ballaugh Old Church is a new group that has been set up to help maintain and celebrate the legacy of this incredible ancient Manx church. Friends of Ballaugh Old Church was created about 18 months ago to act as a kind of community hub to bring the community together and help fundraise, maintain and celebrate this church's incredible past and also make sure it has a future. We've been working with all sorts of organisations, Manx Wildlife Trust, Manx Hedgehog Conservation, Manx National Heritage, and we're part of the Biosphere, which is really important to us. So alongside the family events, we decided to create this film, which has been created by volunteers, and we're really grateful to all the people that have taken part, particularly the historians who, we filmed chasing around the churchyard trying to garner all the information that they have. And I think that's the important takeaway, is that we're only scratching the surface of the wealth of knowledge that is available to discover about this incredible Manx church. At one of our events recently, we had a tour of the churchyard with local historian Ian Radcliffe, who has an incredible wealth of knowledge, and he shares some of that with us now. So Ian, we're here at the James Wilkes headstone. What's unusual about that?
James Wilkes is an interesting character. He was rector here for 6 years, dying in 1777. The strange thing is, he has 3 gravestones. The original, which I'm assuming is where we are at the moment, appears to be cracked. So that was replaced by a second stone by his daughter, Laura Wilkes. However, that's elsewhere in the graveyard. That too appears to have been damaged at some stage and was replaced by a third time by his grandson, Colonel Wilkes. The graveyard here has been here a long time, and it's not just for the great and good. One example we have here is the stone of William Boyd, who died in 1790. We perhaps don't know a great deal about him, but we know even less about the headstone next to it, that the inscription, if there was one, has disappeared completely. Near the entrance to the church, there is a box tomb of Daniel Mulray, who was a deemster one of the chief magistrates on the island. The inscription is very faded, but in the past it's thought that this tomb was used to store contraband brought in by boats to the little harbour at Ballaugh shore.
Sometimes I play in the churchyard. My father spends hours practicing his sermons.
At one of our events, we had Peter Davey, the renowned archaeologist, share with us some of his knowledge about the exterior of the building, which is really quite unique and deserves a full archaeological survey.
Yeah, this front is pretty iconic, isn't it? Because there's nowhere else like it on the island.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing to say is that very few of the older churches can be seen in terms of they're rendered, so you can't see the detail of the structure, either inside or outside, because they've got plaster or render on the outside. So whereas Ballaugh, similarly, is rendered inside, but outside you can actually see the masonry. These shore stones, they're glacial erratics from the shore that weathered out from the boulder clay on the shore. They were one of the most important building materials in the north of the island because there's no rock. And this church, the earliest phase that you can see in the structure, was built of shore stone. This little kind of oval bit here. If you look above it, you see the large mudstone quarried stuff that went in 1717 when they built this, restructured the whole of the elevations to make it look like it is now. Looking at we're on the northern elevation of the nave of the church, and this central section is entirely composed of shore stones until you get to where an old wall plate was, an earlier roof line. You see there's a sudden change in the masonry from shore stones to much bigger blocks of mixed material higher up. That is the line of an early roof. From this point, from this easterly of the two windows, the structure is completely different. See it's large quarried stone all the way up, with big boulders as well, but substantially at ground level particularly. It's large quarried stones right through. So something dramatic has happened here at some point, but the building's been extended. And that's part of the history of the church and its extensions and reductions. So this is part of the Bishop Wilson project, was to lengthen the church, and he lengthened it by 6 meters, just over 6 meters, which takes you out to that sort of rough bit of grass over there.
So this is the core of the early building?
Yes.
Okay.
And you can see a straight joint there. It means archaeologists love straight joints. You've got a straight joint there.
And what does that mean?
Well, that means that there's a pause in the building, or a new building is added. I think when they, well, I don't know, this is what someone's got to work out. I think when they reduced the far end, the east end, to its present position, the pinnacles they put on look exactly the same as these. So if these are 1717, those were on the end of the church and have been replaced on the present elevation.
Right,
Yeah.
right, that makes sense.
I think that's probably what happened.
Ah, okay, that's interesting. The first written record we have of St Mary de Belaf dates to a papal bull of 1231. The history of this document could make a film in itself, but we hope to have an event about it sometime in the future.
So the next part is Sancta or Sanctae Mariae de Balalache at the E at the end, which means St Mary of Belaf. But that's the earliest reference to Belaf.
Fenella Bazin is an incredible historian. She lives locally and specialises in art and particularly music.
Well, it's quite an unusual font because it's actually set into the wall. And when you think of most churches, you walk in and there's a freestanding font. But here it's set into the wall. No one knows just how old that stone is. The inscription on it, which says there's one belief, one God, one Lord, and so on, that's much later. It's quite a modern inscription. By modern, I mean probably sometime late-ish 18th, early 19th century. The inscription, of course, is in Manx. It reads Ta an Chan and Credu as an Vashta, Unji as J Ulya, which translated as one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all. Well, sadly, this is the only cross in Belaf, the only runic cross, that is, anyway, from Viking Age. And the Viking Age, in this sense, the people who lived here when this cross was made were probably here in the first half of the 900s. So we're talking about an old piece of carving. It was erected by a man called Ulf Ljotilsson in memory of his son, who was called Ulf. We don't know how Ulf died. We assume he's an adult because it probably wouldn't have raised a cross like this for a child. Did he drown? Was he killed in battle? Did he meet with an accident? We don't know. And this is the sad thing. We do know that they were probably first or maybe second generation settlers, because by this time they were Christian. So this is a Christian cross, as you can see, and the runes that tell you about it are on the other side from here, and they read from the bottom up to the top. Another thing that's interesting is that whoever sculpted this, and we can't be sure who he was, he would have been probably local, but he's drawing on at least 3 traditions that are well known in Western Norway, and they span a period of 100 years. That gives us an idea of roughly when it would have been carved. And some of these designs, the one, for instance, just there along the right-hand side of this face of the cross, is a very familiar one from Western Norway. But this sculptor is so good and so creative that on the other side of the cross, he's used this same idea but developed it with all sorts of different ideas. So it's a really interesting piece of work from the point of view of the art and the different designs on it. So do have a look at it and try and compare the different styles and see what you think about it. Well, this is where the West Gallery would have been. It would have been full of people, some of them playing their instruments, some just singing. But we don't know what they were singing. It's a blank, rather like the wall itself now. if you have any music at all that might relate to this, hymns, anthems, even just single line things, and you've got something hidden away in a bureau or an attic or a cupboard somewhere, I would love to know about them, please, because we don't know what was sung here.
I think what's really special about this church is the role it's played in the life of the community. For centuries, people have come here to christen their children, to get married, and to say goodbye to their loved ones. So it's incredible to think the joys and sorrows these walls will have witnessed for centuries. I think one of the most poignant examples of that for me was when last year I was setting up for Christmas and I happened to be in the churchyard and I just stumbled across the grave of a little girl called Catherine Stoll, who died when she was 9 years old on the 21st of December. And she was the daughter of the Reverend Hugh Stoll, who was Reverend of the church at that time and continued to work here for many, many years. And he was quite an important person within the parish and on the Isle of Man. And it just really struck me that this man will have buried his daughter here and then come in and served here as the Reverend for many, many years. And it makes me realise that these aren't just names on a board or names carved on stone. These are real people with real heartbreak and joy. But that was a very poignant moment for me.
I hand out the hymn books and welcome the parishioners. My favourite times are happy occasions. I love watching the babies get christened. I love the wedding days. The flowers make the church look so beautiful.
Sarah kindly popped into the old church to share a few special memories of her wedding day with us.
I think just because it's so beautiful and the history of it, and I think it's just got more atmosphere. But my eldest sister got married here, and we do have a rector in the family who was vicar here.
Oh, who was that?
Kiswick.
Ah, what year was that then?
Oh, going back to the 1800s.
Sarah also had some special visitors on her day. It coincided with Derby Air Day, and the Red Arrows made a surprise fly past.
Will the congregation be seated, please? I think we've just had a fly past. Right.
But the church is here for people in sad times too.
The churchyard here at Ballaugh really is a beautiful and serene place to be. And on the inside, from the ancient runic cross inscribed to somebody's son, there is also the Family History Society booklet, which details all the stones and inscriptions where available.
Sometimes I wonder what life will be like hundreds of years from now. Lots will have changed, but I'm sure this church will be the same.
So Gail, tell us a little bit about the rewilding that's happening here at the church.
Well, we're working in conjunction with Manx Wildlife Trust, and as you can probably see if you've walked around the churchyard, it is quite wild anyway, but we're hoping to try and bring back some more of the natural wildflowers. So we've got 2 areas that we're rewilding, and we're going to sow yellow rattle seed, and we have put plug plants in this year as well, so hopefully we'll get some more colour next year. We've also worked with the lady Sandy Moore with the hedgehogs, so we've built a hedgehog house this time last year. We're not quite sure whether we've had any visitors yet, but the house is ready and waiting if they do turn up. So this is the hedgehog house that we built during an event last year. We run quite a few events at the old church, particularly related to nature, so really good for the community and particularly for children to come and get involved. We often have brilliant cakes for sale as well, so don't miss out on those. But anybody can make a hedgehog house. It was just made with ordinary bricks and then an old tile on the top and covered with sticks and logs, so hopefully someone will move in quite soon. We're hoping to get an owl box up in one of these big trees at the back of the churchyard. This will be for a barn owl, and they need their boxes sited overlooking open countryside, so hopefully one of these 3 big trees will be suitable, and you never know, we may get an owl come to stay. This is a particularly good example of a native elm, and we're very lucky in the church to have quite a lot of elms around. This one is interesting because it has what we call a stink hole in it. This is a pool of water that hoverflies are really keen on using to reproduce, and hoverflies are great at increasing the biodiversity in the churchyard, helping act as pollinators, etc.
This film is really just scratching the surface of the incredible history here at Ballaugh Old Church, and also the possibilities for its future. Friends of Ballaugh Old Church is working hard to keep the church open for visitors locally, but also from all over the world researching their ancestors. And one of those visitors turned out to be the cousin, 7 times removed, of Catherine Stowell.
Come and see us again. I love seeing visitors coming up the path.